Well, the Eagles won, but I have a lot to say. It didn't feel like a win. It's one of those games. Um, yeah, I'll just dive right into the Eagles at Browns in week 6. Tomorrow, the Eagles are playing the Giants. In fact, this is 107, so later today, the Eagles are going to play the Giants. You'll see this on Sunday morning. First quarter, the Eagles Browns game, nothing happened. I usually write down turnovers, points, any of that stuff, and nothing happened. Nothing exciting. Um, Second quarter, Eagles kicker Jake Elliott kicked the 49-yard field goal. Jalen Hurts kicked threw a 22-yard touchdown to AJ Brown. Browns kicker Dustin Hopkins kicked a 43-yard field goal. Jake Elliott had a 57-yard field goal blocked by Browns defensive end Myles Garrett and returned by former Eagles safety, now Browns safety Rodney McLeod for a 50-yard touchdown. It was a 10-10 tie at halftime. Uh, Third quarter, Dustin Hopkins missed a 52-yard field goal wide right. Jake Elliott had a 44-yard field goal. Fourth quarter, Dustin Hopkins made a 49-yard field goal. Jalen Hurts threw a 45-yard touchdown to wide receiver Devonta Smith, and Dustin Hopkins kicked a 31-yard field goal. The Eagles won 20-16. I have some notes here, and then I will get into my rant about one particular person. So, Isaiah Rodgers was getting the opening kickoff. Interesting. That was a bold strategy, Cotton. Um, I don't see why he's getting playing time on special teams and not on defense. Kind of weird. Uh, I don't think anyone has any idea who the return specialist is. Even though it probably should be Britton Covey, but Covey is hurt. So, Eagles have no idea who the returner is. That's what I wrote down. Uh, Hurts started 0 for 5 with passes outside the numbers and nothing underneath. I think we all have seen the Browns defense over the last couple years, and the one way to beat them is underneath passes. We're playing Jim Schwartz. I've seen a lot of Jim Schwartz. I know how he got fired. So I I know how to beat him. I know how good he can be. In order to beat Jim Schwartz's defense, you throw underneath and let your guys rack him up. Um, so yeah, none of that. But when the Eagles finally found out they should be doing that, that's when the big plays were happening. Quinyon Mitchell had a perfect interception that was knocked out by Chauncey Gardner-Johnson after being greedy. There's two people I'd like to talk about with this. That's all I wrote down. It was a very boring game. Um, let's talk about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson real quick. I think you've slowly seen my progression with him week to week. It is getting worse. Today, during this game, after that play, I messaged people and I said, you know, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is playing so bad that I don't even think Byron Maxwell or Namni Asma played as bad as him that he's playing right now. He's allowing touchdowns every week, except for this last week. Wow. Congratulations. You didn't allow a touchdown this week. Every other week, he's allowed a touchdown. I don't care what he says about, oh, this is my zone. Yeah, great way to blame your other teammates. So that's you see my frustration because he's being very greedy. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell had a perfect interception, then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson comes out of nowhere, knocks Quinyon Mitchell to the ground, and no interception. What are you doing? You are being so greedy right now. Uh, if you don't do anything, Quinyon Mitchell gets an interception. Yeah, I'd rather have now. I watched Namni Asma play. I think it was a lot of scheme issues with him. Byron Maxwell just flat out wasn't good. Um, but you know what? I at their worst, I don't think they're playing as bad as he has played over the course of the first 6 weeks of the season, 5 games. if you include the bye. Um, he's playing greedy. Uh, he's going to social media for attention seeking. Um, and he's allowing touchdowns every week. He's not good in coverage. Has had one very good play, which resulted in a turnover in the Falcons game. Um, Great job stopping the run. A lot of people applauded him for that. And immediately forgot that he allowed a touchdown in that game. A terrible, terrible touchdown that he allowed in that same game. So, yeah, you're doing good stopping the run on one play. Congratulations. You go convert to linebacker then. Um, he's playing so bad right now. I've never seen since I've been an Eagles fan, I've never seen a defensive back play as bad on and off the field combined as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is playing right now. I want to see him benched with for his just lack of awareness for what is he is doing. Um, he's just not doing good at all. Sidney Brown is now healthy. I would like to see Sidney Brown time get some time. James Bradbury should be coming back soon. I'd like to see James Bradbury get some time. As much as people want to talk about how bad Bradbury was last year, he's not as bad as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was this year. Bradbury switched to safety. Let's see how he can play. But you need to maybe switch him to slot. Switch Gardner-Johnson back to the slot where he played with the Saints. See if he can go back to how well he was. But he needs to be taught a lesson by just having get him benched for one half, and I want to see how his attitude is. That's all. He needs to understand how big that it is his fault for some of the instances that he is causing, both on the field and off the field. Um, like at least Darius Slay is admitting to his faults. Darius Slay, I mean, he allows us a game-winning touchdown, but outside of that, he's been playing good ball. The game-winning touchdown against the Falcons. Um, Darius Slay's been playing good ball, solid ball. It's not what he was playing, but he's still playing solid to the point that I'm okay if like Quinion and him switch spots, because Quinion's playing elite defense right now. Um, yeah, yeah, I've never seen a second guy in a secondary play as bad as he is playing right now. And I remember those 2019, 2020 Eagles secondaries where everybody was hurt. That's how we got guys like Roswell Douglas. That's how we got guys like Avonte Maddox. That's how we got guys like Josh Jobe. And he's playing worse than all of them were. So that's my rant on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I think he has the talent to be a good sec guy in the secondary, but he is not showing it at all. So yeah, that's my thoughts on him. And then we'll get to Nick Sirianni. Um, Look, going into both those, um, I don't like to talk negatively, but when you're forcing my hand here, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is forcing my hand with how angry I am right now. Um, it's it's one thing to be not good on the field. I get that. You go through certain situations outside of the just flat out knocking Quinion Mitchell to the ground because you wanted an interception. That and then the stuff on social media, you're not being a good teammate at all. And it's pretty clear and obvious. I think we all can see the players around him. So leave it at that. Um, Nick Sirianni, uh, he definitely has a say in this offense, a lot more say than I thought. I mean, I've looked at film on Kellen Moore's offense. I mean, I remember all the Cowboys games. I mean, we get a lot of Cowboys games because I'm in Philadelphia area, so I remember the Kellen Moore's offense with the Cowboys. Um, and I remember his offense with the Chargers. Um, the routes that some of our top playmakers are running are not routes that Kellen Moore has ever had his receivers run. And, I knew going into the year, the one drawback to Kellen Moore's offense is he's a pass first and does not run the ball often. That's why Saquon does may get games where he's not running as much as he should be. That's a frustration, but if you're making plays in the pass game, then it makes up for it. But that's the issue with Sirianni. Sirianni's offense over the past couple of years, we've seen route running has creating routes has been bad for anytime Sirianni has been involved in the offense. And we saw it in this game, AJ Brown's route tree. We saw Devonta Smith not really getting open. When your offense consists of Pro Bowl to all pro players at wide receiver one, wide receiver two, and tight end, and a very talented third options from last year with Julio Jones to this year with Jahan Dotson, and none of those guys are getting separation. I think you need to understand that that's a coaching issue. There's no way these guys, as talented as they are, I mean, some of these guys are might end their careers as Hall of Famers. Julio definitely. We don't even need to talk about that because Julio is at the end of his career. But guys like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, all three of them should be getting open. We talk about, the mismatches. I mean, going into the year, we talked about the mismatches, like who are you going to even cover? Well, based off of how they're being utilized and the routes that they're running, they don't need to do the defenses don't need to be doing anything. So, um, yeah, there's a lack of openness in the offense from a receiving perspective, and that's not on Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore's offenses are normally designed to do that. The offenses that aren't are Nick Sirianni's. So he needs Sirianni's is this was a game where I mean I said it right after the game and I'll say it right here. I realized in this game that as long as Nick Sirianni is the head coach and he has some input into the offense, he will not take the Eagles to win a Super Bowl. It's sometimes you just gotta admit that, and this game made me admit that. Um, Now, I mean, going into this game, I knew the Browns had a good defense. I get that. Um, there was just decision making, there's a lack of preparation in the offense. Dan Orlovsky had a rant about how you have all these talented players and you're clearly not preparing for these games because you only have 22 total yards of offense on in what the first quarter in total this season. Um, there is a lack of preparation. You see that though on the opening drives of all these games that I mean the Eagles have no points and no touchdowns in the first quarter this season. They're the worst first quarter offense in the whole league. And that comes down to your coach, preparation. That's the one thing now that Sirianni has definitely has say in is preparation. You talk about hard work. It's not only that's where guys like Dan Campbell, as great of a coach they are, he works on preparation. He's not only a get in your face, get you hyped type of coach, but he also understands the preparation that goes into games. Um, and you see the lack of preparation. I think I think Sirianni underestimates. I think Sirianni just thinks his playmakers can go play and do well, and that's kind of how this offense feels, and that's sort of how this defense feels. It seems like everybody individually is playing solid outside of a couple key names, and there's no cohesion in this team. Um, I mean, Hurts shouldn't be starting 0 for 5 with passes outside the numbers. You're designing plays that are terrible, especially against a team like the Browns. You should be playing underneath ball. You should methodically be going down the field, and that's how you stop them. That's how you stop Jim Schwartz's defense. And, you know, I don't know. It's frustrating. Sirianni has lost me. He's lost me. I just don't think he clearly doesn't want to change. He clearly wants say in the offense. He clearly wants certain things. And now he's getting into the fans' heads, yelling at the fans. And I've read the post by the guy that Sirianni was yelling at, so I get it. I'm sure the fan was drunk. So are a lot of fans at a lot of football games. You still should, as a professional at your in your job, you still should not be yelling at the people that you're supposed to be serving. Like, you understand what I mean? Like, if you're a doctor, you shouldn't be yelling at your patient. No matter how cruel your patient is. If you're a car salesman, you should not be yelling at the person trying to buy a car off of you. Like, I hope people understand that. Like, at the end of the day, you shouldn't be yelling at. I mean, the whole saying the customer is always right, even though we both know if you've worked in any sort of field that deals with customers, you know that sometimes they're not right, but you just got to act like they're right. But he's now getting into arguments with fans. That's just not looking good. He goes bald. I don't care. And everybody was saying like, oh, Sirianni's going bald. He's going nuts, or oh, he's gonna have a. He's finally changing. No, he's just trying to put his face into the spotlight, and with how talented this team is, you don't need the spotlight's too already big. That's kind of why Hurts is. I'm glad Hurts is so humble as he is because if Sirianni was coaching someone, other quarterbacks in this league, I would say like 90% of quarterbacks in this league, there would probably be some headbutting, and I think there is a lot of headbutting with Sirianni and a lot of the players on the team, and I think you see it. Um, it's frustrating. Someone like him being the coach of such a talented team and just struggling. People were, I've seen analysts, I've seen other fans get excited about this game for the Eagles. That oh, this is a gritty win. They needed this. It was not gritty. The it was bad. This is a bad game of football. And the Browns defense is very good, so I understand why Saquon Barkley was locked up. And I understand that. Um, I knew going into that was going to be more than likely what the outcome was. I mean, there's only really one running back in the league that could do that too good against the Browns, and that's Derrick Henry. And I don't even know if Derrick Henry. I'm curious to see how the Ravens Browns games go, but I don't even know if Derrick Henry can do good against the Browns. That's just how good the Browns deep run defense is. Um, and that's how Jim Schwartz's defense has always been. Uh, with the Eagles, that is. Um, yeah, that's what I gotta say. Sirianni's just frustrating me. Um, uh, Eagles play the Giants at MetLife Stadium. I said it. I this going into this year, I said I would rather forfeit a game than I would rather forfeit and get a loss than have my team play on MetLife's field. I've seen enough players get hurt on that field, and I've given up. I would rather forfeit that game. You know what? That's one loss. I get it. Might end up costing us a game, but I'd rather it cost us a game than see my star player or players go down and get hurt, or key players go down and get hurt. It happens way too much, I'm sure. And Mekhi Becton has spoken openly about that when he played on the Jets. Um, and Saquon's dealt with it. I'm sure Saquon's not speaking out about it, but you know what? I'll speak for him. Uh, even now, I won't speak for him. Well, because he's an adult, he knows what he's doing. Um, and I mean, yeah, he's dealt with injuries on that field. There's a lot of players in this league that have dealt with injuries on that field. That is the worst field in all of football, and I hope they need to fix it, and they won't. It's stupid. I don't understand it. Just get rid of it. Um, it's clear and obvious. We see it. So I'm really hoping just nobody gets hurt. If the Eagles lose 56 to nothing and nobody gets hurt, I'll be happy because I don't want anybody to get hurt on that field, and I'm scared of that field. Um, so yeah, I hope nobody gets hurt. That's what I want this week. More than a win. I more than a win. I want nobody hurt. So, I mean, injuries are bound to happen in football, so I understand if someone gets a concussion, I get that. But if I see multiple players with like knee injuries, ankle injuries, toe injuries, then I'll be sick to my stomach. So, uh, yeah, that's kind of how it is. It was a little frustration that I needed to release, and yeah, I'm hoping the Eagles can get a win against the Giants. But more importantly, again, on MetLife Field, I'd rather nobody get hurt. So I will see you next week. All right. Go Eagles.